on, everybody? Today I'm going to be reviewing a game called Trust Me. This game came out in 1981 from Parker Brothers, and it is for 2 to 4 players. Now, Trust Me is a game that deals with investments, and what you're going to be trying to do is you're going to be trying to convince people to participate in investing in your briefcase. And you're also going to have an opportunity to invest in other people's briefcases as well. The object of the game is you are going to try to be the player that has got the most amount of money and stocks at the end of the game. This game basically relies on memory, and it also relies on your ability to try to convince people to invest in your stock or your briefcase. So let me go ahead and show you how this game works. Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and talk about the components really quick. The first thing you have here are your playing pieces. These are in the shape of dollar signs, and you're just going to basically choose one of these. Right here you have your money. Everybody is going to start off with $10. These here are the shares that you are going to be purchasing and investing in, and everybody is going to be receiving $10 worth of shares at the beginning of the game. These are your briefcases, and these are going to be the things that you and your opponents are going to be trying to sell shares in. And there's 4 different types, and I'll show them to you really quick here. All right, you have some that have a double dollar bill sign on it. You have one that has a single bunch of bills. You have one that has nothing on it, and then you have one that says you've been had. And I'll explain what these mean here in just a minute. Now, there are about 16 briefcases and 20 pieces of cardboard that have those little symbols on them. And this is so you can change the game up so it won't be the same every time. These are what are called claim tokens, and anytime you land in a space such as this, like a little avenue where there is a briefcase, you will have an opportunity to lay claim to that briefcase. And then what you will end up doing is you will end up going back to this spot right here and trying to convince people to invest in your briefcase. And these here are your Trust Me cards. You're going to be drawing these anytime you roll a 1. And there's different things on here, like go to any business district on the Gulf Coast Drive, which is right in here. And you'll just basically follow the directions on the card whenever you get these. So basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to be rolling the dice, and you're going to be making your way to these different briefcases. So let's just say I roll and I end up getting a 5, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I can go basically on any path I choose. I can go in either direction. Now, when I get here, I've got a couple of choices. On my turn, I can go ahead and do what's called peeking, and I can just look under here to see what this is. And I will see that this is a batch of dollar bills, which is pretty good. So I will lay that back down, and then I will have a choice. On my next turn, I will be able to lay claim to this briefcase with one of these if I decide to. So on my next turn, let's just say I decide to go ahead and do this. Then what I would do, if I decided to, I would go ahead and make my way back to this space over here and then try to convince people to invest in my briefcase. Now, another thing I could do is that when I get on over here, I can just go ahead and pick up the briefcase without looking at it. And then I would be able to get it that way. So then I would just hold on to it that way, and then I would continue moving. Now, if I decide to lay claim to a briefcase... Now, if I decide to lay claim to a briefcase, I don't have to make my way over here immediately. I could just simply keep making my way around the board and go and look under other briefcases if I decide to. I will not be able to lay claim to more than one briefcase. Once I lay down a claim marker, I'm not going to be able to use it again until I've already used this briefcase and convinced people to try to invest in it. Now, the way investing works is like so. Let's say I went ahead and claimed a briefcase, and I got back over here, and I have these 4 things. Now, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to convince people to once again invest into these briefcases, and there's 4 different things that can happen. If I convince people to try to invest in this, they're going to go ahead and purchase stocks that's in this. And let's say someone decides to give me $100, and they'll put $100 in the middle over here, and then I will give them 100 shares of stock. In this case, they won't receive any more money. They will, however, receive the stocks that they have purchased. If it turns out they get this and they invest in this, they will end up receiving back the money that they have in stocks in dollar bills. So say they ended up purchasing 100 shares of stocks and they had 25 shares of stocks already. That makes 125 shares of stocks. If they ended up investing in this, they are going to make $125. And then, of course, you have this. If you end up investing in this or someone else invests in this, they are going to receive back double the amount of money that they have in stock. So if someone ends up buying this and they end up having a total of $100 in stock, they are going to receive $200 in cash. if they end up investing in this is the bad one. If anybody that decides to invest in this or doesn't invest in this, if this shows up, they're going to lose all of their shares. And the only way you can protect yourself from this is doing what's called divesting. Whenever somebody decides to try to convince you to invest in a briefcase, you've got some choices. You can either decide, I don't want to invest in anything. You can decide to invest in something, hoping that you might double your investment or get some money back. Or you can do what's called divesting, which basically means you're going to sell back part or all of your stock and then receive back the money that it is worth. So that's what you would want to do if you think that this is the briefcase that someone is trying to convince you to invest in. So anyway, what will happen is like, let's just say I get over here and I have this briefcase over here and I'm like, okay, people, I've got a really, really, really good deal over here. You're just basically going to try to convince people to invest in your stock. The reason you're going to want to do this is because the money that people put down in the middle to buy the shares, you are going to be receiving that money. So let's say all the players combined decided they were going to invest $400 and get 400 shares of stock. You are going to receive that $400. And on top of that, you can also invest in this yourself. And since you already know that this is going to get you back double your cash, you're going to obviously want to go ahead and invest in this yourself so you can get back more money. Now, there are a couple of other spaces on the board I need to talk about. One here is what's called the Wild Goose Chase. If you land on this, you're basically going to end your turn. There's also one that says Hot Tip on Greenhorn Avenue, or the Hot Tip spaces over here. There's different ones. Basically, if you land on this, you are going to be able to go to the avenue that is on here and peek under one of these briefcases, and that way you'll get an idea of what's under them. And the reason you're going to want to try to peek under the briefcase is because eventually someone is going to lay a claim to it and try to sell it back to you. So what you want to try to do is you want to try to remember what is underneath the briefcases so that you'll be able to make a better decision as to whether or not you want to make an investment on it. Now, if you're playing the game and someone happens to land on you by exact count, they are going to get sent to the Wild Goose Chase space. Now, if they happen to have laid a claim on a briefcase and you end up landing on them and sending them back to the Wild Goose Chase space, what's going to happen is that they are going to lose their claim thing, and then you are going to get it, like so. If it turns out that both of you have laid a claim token on something when this happens, then all that's going to happen is that the orange player in this case will lose their claim token. After the deals have been done with the certain briefcase and everything, whatever penalties or whatever bonuses are going to get paid out, and then this briefcase, the briefcase that has been invested in, is going to be out of play. And basically the game is going to continue, and you'll just be moving around the board here, picking up different briefcases, deciding whether you want to invest in different briefcases, up until the point where there are only 2 briefcases left on the board. And when that happens, the game is going to end, and then everybody is going to count up all of their shares and all of their money together, and whoever has the most amount of money with the combination of those two is going to win the game. So my thoughts on the game, Trust Me. Well, there's a couple of things that this game really depends on. This depends on your memory, using your deduction skills, and also using your skills in trying to convince people to invest in your property. There is a couple of decisions you have to make. One of them is, do you want to go ahead and lay claim to a property and try to sell it first because you'll know what it's worth? Or do you want to move around the board, kind of peek under some of the other briefcases and get an idea of what they are worth as well? Also, part of the game also relies on you looking at some of the other players and seeing what they're able to see and seeing if they're actually going to invest in something that they know may be good or not. So a lot of this has to depend on memory. As far as the gameplay goes, I would say this is kind of average. I haven't really played the game that much. I know Board Game Geek ranks this about a 5, and I'd rank that probably about the same. It's not a bad game. It's just a game that I think probably plays a little bit better with kids. With adults, I think it would probably work good as a filler game, but it's not really like a game that requires a lot of strategy or a lot of heavy thinking. It just really depends on your memory and your skills in trying to be able to convince people to invest in your property. But anyway, that's my review on the game. I'd say I'd give it about a 5 or a 5.5 or so for this game. It just really depends on if you like these kind of games or not. But that is my review, y'all. Y'all have a good one.